All right, hello everybody, and welcome to the Frantic Talks podcast. I am your host, Frantic. With me, as always, is my lovely co-host,
Grunt. Hello, everyone.
Hello everyone. We're here to talk about gaming
And junk.
and junk. So you might have noticed I did not mention a podcast number in the beginning. That is because this is another archive cast. If you aren't familiar, we don't go live on Saturdays, and we need to fill the gap so you guys aren't sitting around twiddling your thumbs waiting for another podcast. So we like to do archive casts where we talk about stuff that doesn't really depend on current news, which since we tend to talk about that a lot. So today we have a very fun episode in store for you. We have the top 5 games that we want to be made into movies. And we'll get into the rules here in a minute, but we're going to start off by letting you know where you can find us as per usual. So head over to Twitter. I am at FranticJ3. He is at Onyx Spartan, ONYX Spartan, all one word, and at Frantic_Talks is our official Twitter account where you can hit us up and also follow us, and you can see all the stuff that we tend to tweet out, like articles, podcasts, videos, the like. You can also hit up our special podcast goes at FreakShow187. He likes his puns. Send him a good pun, he'll probably send one back. Or send him something you want made into a pun. He usually is pretty quick to respond. Also, you can head over to twitch.tv/Frantic Talks, all one word. That is where you will typically find this podcast going live every Saturday, usually at 3 p.m. Eastern, usually. Ironically enough, I mentioned that, and we're not live right now. It's pretty great. So,
At some point, we were.
Yes, at some point, we absolutely were.
Probably right before this recording.
Yeah, usually that's how this works. That's how it worked this time and last time. So,
and that's probably how it's going to work in the future.
Yeah. It's just easier. Yeah, we're always in the same spot, so it makes sense. But anyways, head over to YouTube. You can find the archive version of our podcast along with the Sunday show that I normally do, which is music, topical music stuff, typically metal music. That is,
you search metal.
It's so. I've said that so much this week. Anyways, timeless. Timeless is what we're going for here. Jeez. Search Frantic Talks, all one word or not, it doesn't matter. You'll typically find us, and you can hit subscribe. Once we get 100 subscribers, I can give you a better URL than saying go to YouTube and search. But the pros, you get the podcast about an hour after it goes live normally. This will usually, even the archive cast, go up before the audio version. And you can also get our Sunday show, like I just mentioned. And we're hoping to get some more content. We had some ideas we were brewing over. Hopefully we'll get some stuff to you. All right, so you can also head over to facebook.com/Frantic Talks, hit the like button where you will get a more Facebook version of our Twitter account. And if all else fails, head over to frantictalks.com, the mothership, where you will find all our articles, podcasts, links that you need. Everything I just said is in the footer. Click into a podcast, and you can find everything related to the podcast, like iTunes, Stitchers, Twitch link, YouTube video, audio version, all of it there. And you can also hit up magic.frantictalks.com, nicely linked in the header of the website. And that'll take you to the Magic version of our website where you can see all the cool Magic the Gathering articles we have. And if all else fails, 100 times out of 10, Grunt, how can you find us?
Direct yourself to your favorite search engine and just search Frantic Talks. You will find us.
Guarantee it. All right. So with that being said, we typically at this point like to talk about our week, but it's a timeless podcast. So we're going to jump right into our top 5 games that we want to be seen made into movies. Now, there are a couple of brief rules, I guess. And the way we organize this,
rules.
Yeah, it's absolutely subjective, but the idea is we ordered them based on how much we wanted to see them, but we also took into account how likely we would see them. So, saying I want to see a Crash Bandicoot movie would be like, how would they do that? That seems very unlikely. So we just kind of based it off of how practical we want it, but also kept in mind, which one we want to see the most. So It's not like we're just going our number one wouldn't be the same because it's like this is absolutely going to happen. But, just keep that in mind when we're going through the list. And if at the end of this you want to give us your list or want to mention, that'd be a great movie idea, definitely let us know. We're not going to, most likely not going to delve into too much of a synopsis of what we'd want the plot to be, but we might, hint at what we think could work because we don't write movies. So obviously we're not the best judge of how you would write the script, but I might throw in my 2 cents on that, and I'm sure Grunt has a few words he'd probably say. So, I
will say a few words.
All right. Sounds good then. So,
a few words. Come on, you had to see that coming.
I did. It took a second and it clicked. But,
all right,
okay.
Let's get into this.
Normally we start with honorable mentions, and this time around, Grunt has no honorable mentions, and hilariously enough, I have 4. Technically 3, one of them's freak shows because he said we have to include it. So let's start with my honorable mentions. Now, they aren't going to pop up on screen like we normally do. Once we get to our top 5, they will be shown on screen. Just pictures to kind of show what we're talking about. That way you can kind of see. But anyways, my first honorable mention, which is actually Freak Show's honorable mention, one that we'll spend 3 seconds talking about, is Chrono Trigger. Now, I don't know enough about Chrono Trigger to be able to tell you what the game truly is. I know it's one of those, I think that's like highly sought after, existed way back in the day, and it was limited quantities, I want to say, whatever. But I'm pretty sure it's like one of those role-playing games that's just larger than life and takes forever to play. So I imagine with that big of an open world, probably make for a really good movie. I don't know if you know anything about it, Grunt.
No, I do not, actually.
Okay, well that's fine. But ask Freak Show; he knows more about it. But that's his honorable mention in this countdown. So, also my next honorable mention is one that I adore and I really want to happen because I can see it working. Is Frogger. Now, before you look at me and say, "What the hell are you talking about? The frog that crosses the road?" I read this in an article and was like, "It's not my idea. I won't use it as a top 5, but I really want this." Pixar's Frogger. And now you understand how this works, right?
That makes so much more sense. I was about to say, what the heck are you talking about? But
and like the article even said the whole story could be how Pixar's really good about paralleling human struggle, and the struggle to cross the street could be some bigger human struggle that we never realize or something. It would be
such a hilariously fun movie with a deep plot that
oh yeah,
kids will love the movie for what it's worth, just at face value, but
yep.
Older people will totally understand what it's like to be the Frogger crossing the road.
Yeah, so when I saw that, I was like, that seems good. I want that to happen now. All right, so my next honorable mention, my second one, technically, is Metroid. Now, I've never played a Metroid game, but I definitely think that Metroid has some potential to be made into a movie, for sure. It's definitely got that kind of alien-esque horror to it, where kind of atmospheric is unsettling, and, you know, it could definitely make for maybe a cool, like, pseudo-action suspense type movie. Who knows? I think they could do really good with that. And then my final honorable mention, another game I have not really played, but I think would be well off as a movie, the Mass Effect series.
Oh, yes. That would be very, very good.
Yeah. Mass Effect has a gigantic space universe. You know, who doesn't want another really good Star Wars or Firefly even? Firefly seems to be a better example for that. I personally think, because Mass Effect can kind of do whatever you want, and Firefly had a really fun cast of characters who all had their own unique ways about going against things, and they clashed constantly, and it was great. So I think, especially if we took a more Firefly vein to Mass Effect, it could honestly worked.
Right.
It might be better off as like a Netflix show. But those are all of my honorable mentions, and like I said, Grunt doesn't have any. So now that I've long-windedly talked here for 20 minutes, actually it's been like 3, Grunt, let's start with your number 5. What do you have as your 5th most likely, but also you want to see game to be made into a movie?
It's probably based off of the Fear game series.
So Fear, which, holy crap, that came on screen in the wrong way. Don't worry, just keep talking, I'll fix it. We're good.
Just pay no mind the technical difficulties. Yes, I think it would make for a phenomenal horror movie.
Yeah.
You know, in the games there was a huge focus on blood and gore, but you wouldn't even have to do that. You could just make it basically like a scary movie in general.
Absolutely.
Because friggin' the one character in the game, there was a lot of jump scares that happened at times in the game.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, it's one of the most overused tricks in horror movies, I would say, is the jump scare, but, you know, semantics. If it works, it works.
No, personally, I agree. I don't like jump scares, and they're cheap. Keep going.
But there is so much, just if you really dive into the storyline and the lore of Fear, you could easily come up with any kind of horror movie from it. So
absolutely,
the possibility of it happening, I probably about the same as we're getting a new game, which is probably not at all happening. But
yeah, I would
compared
think
to some others I had in mind that didn't make my list, and I didn't put those in honorable mentions because, you know, I didn't think of those at the time. I don't think it'll happen, but it'd be great to see it.
I can agree with that. I would hope that they would learn from what Resident Evil did wrong, which is Resident Evil was like atmospheric horror and at the same time just kind of situational horror,
Right.
and their movies were just action zombie killing movies.
Right.
So I'd hope they would learn.
Totally different from the games, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Well,
so
up until recently, it was actually more paralleling until they did 7. But yeah.
All right.
I think that would be a good movie. I agree with you. Fear is definitely a scary game, and I've actually played one of them. It's pretty unsettling. That'd be a great movie. All
Yes,
right, so
it would be great. But Fear is my fifth choice.
I think I can take a note from Grunt here and mention how this next game that is my number 5 could absolutely be made into a horror, but I don't think it would be 100% horror. I think just atmospheric unsettlingness would work, and I'm probably going to say that a lot because a lot of the games I picked out kind of have that feel to them. But I think the Castlevania series would be a really good movie to be made. Now, they are making a Netflix series about this, but it's more anime-esque, so it's not necessarily what I expected. Not to
Mm.
say I don't think that's going to work. I'm interested to see, but I think this would be a really good like live action movie because there's been a lot of like Van Helsing vampire killer type movies, and that's essentially what Castlevania is. You know, you're going to kill Dracula. So I think that could be a pretty cool movie to maybe kick off a 2 or 3 movie franchise, or just a one-off that, you know, it doesn't have to be the best movie ever made. I don't think, but with it being in Netflix, I think it's very likely that could happen. And
Totally.
it's just that the game series has been kind of weird since the 2000s struck. That they've had very big hit and misses. So
Oh yes, I definitely agree with that statement.
I think it could really work, and it would definitely be really cool to see. And I'm going to make a quick note that most of the games we are talking about are in some have been spoken of in some manner to be made into a movie by people higher up than us who actually have the ability. Uh, but we'll get there. Mass Effect was one of them that's been in production hell for like 5 years, so it could be made, it could not be made. Just want to throw it out there. Castlevania is not that, but I just remembered I wanted to say that before we moved any further.
It's fitting you say that before my next choice.
Yeah, because I know what your next choice is, and I could have added to it, but you know, we'll get there.
Right.
Anyways, Grunt, your number 4 is one I know I'd want to see,
Oh, definitely. I would absolutely love to see this movie, but
and everyone will see this coming.
it has to be done right because of what it is. I
Yes.
would love to see a Halo movie. Come on.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a no-brainer. That would make for a great storytelling, a
Mhm.
great action movie, but it has to be done. I mean, there have been talks in the past, years recently, of who was it? Peter Jackson,
I thought it was Spielberg actually.
Spielberg. That's right. That's who it is. Of
Yeah.
doing a movie. You know, talks of those fell off the face of the earth. There's been the live-action series that have been published, like the Halo Landfall series.
Yes.
And those are probably about as close as we're going to get to a Halo movie because I don't think Microsoft or 343, whoever it may be,
Hmm.
want to tarnish the name by falling into the horrible video game to movie adaptation stereotype that's out there.
Yeah.
But a while ago, when I wrote an article about this, I think we're starting to change that with some of the more recent game-based movies out there.
Yeah, and I think it's because the people making the movies understand the difference between a movie and a game.
Right.
In the game, you want to feel like the great badass. In the movie, the closest you can get is to relate with the big badass. So I think being able to interweave that difference in dynamic is tricky because it's such a big difference, although it doesn't sound like it is. So I think that would be the biggest thing holding Halo back is because Master Chief's,
Right.
you know,
I
he's
mean,
a faceless protagonist, sure, but I can't
right.
relate to Master Chief.
Yeah, and that's why I think you would have to, dissect away from the normal things like the Master Chief. Maybe bring in some of the other lore, like an ODST, or maybe I don't know. It'd be really tough to do something around Sergeant Johnson, but something like that would be cool.
Yeah.
There's so much in the universe to explore.
Hmm.
Possibility of it happening, though, is just it. It's like as a fan, you want it to happen so bad, but
Yeah.
you might never see that day.
Yeah, definitely, and I'm assuming that's why it's number 4.
That's most likely why it's number 4. Yes.
Yeah. All right. Well, with that being said, my number 4 kind has been done, but not really. So it's better if I just tell you what it is, and that is the God of War series. I loved the idea of God of War when I heard about it, but I never had the PS3 or PS4, so I never got to play it. Uh, and basically, Clash of the Titans is what I mean. Is it's kind of already been done where gods go to war with each other, but God of War is a little different because the main character's killing the gods and fighting against them in his own way, almost like the anti-Hercules, if I'm understanding everything about it correctly. I've read a little bit about it and seen videos, but having not played it, I don't truly know everything about it. But I think it could make for a really good story in like the Greek mythology because the Greek mythology has always made me think like I've always been interested. So I think this could be a cool exploration of it that isn't the typical, oh,
Right.
here's the Odyssey and everything that happened there, and Medusa did this, and you're not just retelling old tales.
Right.
I
It'd be
think that
great
could
to
work really
see.
well.
It'd be great to see something similar to what they did for the original 300 movie.
Oh yeah.
For that would be amazing.
Oh, absolutely. I really like that idea. Now that you say that. So,
Yes.
now I couldn't find really anything about a movie besides just like pure speculation when I googled it. So I have this hesitantly at number 4 because it's like I think it could work really well. I just don't know if there's any interest in it.
Right.
Uh, so that being said, that's my number 4, God of War. I think it would be great. So,
Good
Grunt.
choice.
Thank you. I want to know what your number 3 is because I feel like it's an interesting choice.
It is. There has been talks about it a little bit going into maybe a movie, possibly.
Mm-hmm.
But it's The Division from Ubisoft and whatever studio actually developed it. I don't remember. I'm
I don't
sorry.
know the name either.
Um, but yes, there have been talks about them making it into a movie because it was such a hugely popular game. And I
Mm-hmm.
agree, it could make a good movie for several different things. I don't know what you could classify it as. Not necessarily an action movie. It would all depend on how they throw it together. But there is a story to tell there. They could do all kinds of stuff for it. They could
Mm-hmm.
even do a quasi like prequel where it's explaining the events that led up to everything that happens in the game.
Right.
Which, it's been a while since I played the game. I don't remember exactly what happened, or if it even told you anything that happened, but there's really no explanation other than, yeah, New York City, it's infected by some sort of virus. It's basically kind of sort of killing people. You think zombies, but not really zombies.
Mm-hmm.
So it'd be interesting to see what they could do with it. Likelihood of it happening is why it's my number 3 choice. And
Yeah.
Ubisoft, they did the Assassin's Creed movie, and it was good. So I have faith that they could pull off another good video game movie if they get the right people
Yeah, I definitely agree with that because I
to direct
think
it, write it, all that stuff.
because while it's not a new concept of the world plunging into anarchy upon the uh, eventual extinction of the human race,
Right.
I think it's definitely a great storytelling mechanic because you see people in their rawest form, and that's how you can get emotion to be triggered from people who may who are watching it. So I think that's definitely a really good pick because like the game or not, the story that it wants to tell, I feel like is even better in a movie setting. Yeah, it's a
Yes.
great story.
Right.
So that could be a very good movie. I agree with you.
Right. Yeah. So, the likelihood of it happening, I say, is very high. I have faith that Ubisoft could do it justice if they would actually go through with that. Because, like I said, I really love the Assassin's Creed movie.
Hmm.
Uh, to sidetrack onto that, I felt it's probably the best video game movie I have seen.
Yeah,
So, others I will not mention because
we
reasons.
never end this podcast.
Right.
Well, that's a good pick for 3, I'd say. Especially, I don't want to say out of left field, but because of how we've talked about the game and you know
Right.
our opinions on it, if you know of them, it's just like this game just did not do what it should have done. But
It's yeah.
uh,
The game can suck, but the movie could be great. I'm not saying the game
right.
sucked because I did enjoy it, but I'm digressing.
Well, my number 3 is the inverse. The games are great, but the movie has to be done right, and we're treading old ground here with the Halo series. Now, uh, I really want this, and having watched Nightfall and all that stuff that they did before the release of Halo 5,
I
it looked
forgot
like
about Nightfall. Oh
yeah,
man.
it looked cool and it seemed like it was great, but all these stories focused in on the more vulnerable people, like I said, where
Mhm.
you're not the super soldier, you're being aided by him. And if I'm really being honest with myself, I feel like that's about the only way a Halo movie would work, and I don't know how satisfied I'd truly be with that, uh, because Halo is such a highly regarded game in my mind. It's such a the Halo 1 through 3 are easily my favorite games, pretty much of all time at this point. Nothing's ever going to usurp them. I feel like thanks to nostalgia and how much fun I had with them.
Right.
Uh, so it's something that dear to me. It's like I want this to happen so I can just experience this with other people instead of playing through Xbox Live or something like that. Uh, and so the Halo name could be even bigger, but it's just like I don't know. It's got to be done right, like you said, and that's about all I can really add to that.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I said it earlier. I think it would make a phenomenal movie, but it has to be done right. It has to be done right. There's no exception for releasing a even probably mediocre movie.
mhm.
You'd have
Yeah,
your true fans that would enjoy a mediocre movie, but they would leave the theaters that they would see it in to be like, man, I wish I was better.
more or less. Yeah,
So
that's
yeah, it
basically how I
has to
feel.
be done right. I wholeheartedly agree. It has to be done right.
Yeah.
Now that I've said that about 5 times in a row.
No, I mean you got to hammer the point home on that. That's how Halo is. So that was my number three. Now, moving on to Grunt's number two. This is one that is. Well, I'll let him speak for it.
The storytelling, this is a movie that would be perfect for, or a game that would be perfect for a storytelling type movie. It's Bioshock.
Yes, this
Bio,
goes right back to why the division would work.
yes, the story in the Bioshock games is really, really good if you pay attention to it.
Mm-hmm.
It's part of the reason why I go back and play through Bioshock games every so often. Um, the first two games cover the underwater city of Rapture. There's so much stuff and backstory behind that, and that you could cover that. You could, why is the city in basically ruins? When you get there, what happened? It's like some sort of rebellion when people started taking these. Oh god, I just drew a blank on the names of it. They're
Oh yeah,
plasmids.
yeah. I was about to say I
The
was trying to think of it too.
plasmids. Um, you know, People started taking those, and that threw the city into like a rebellion. It sounds like there's corruption in some places. Plus, why is there a city underwater? Who knows?
Yeah, all great pieces for an amazing story in a movie.
And then you have like Bioshock Infinite that deals with everything, and it throws in this weird story line that there's multiple timelines that are taking place, hence why there's maybe a city underwater and there's one floating above it. So it's really great. I would love to see what they could do with it. I feel that it kind of partially falls under the category of having to be done right, but
Yeah,
really, in order to do that, all you have to do is have a good story for it. So,
right. And they could use the story that exists versus Halo. Halo isn't heavy on story; it's more about the gameplay.
right,
And Bioshock is it's a lot different than that. So I think doing it right, it almost seems like it could be easier. You would really have to focus on visuals
right,
compared to visuals and a great story, of course.
right. So, yeah, I would absolutely love to see a Bioshock movie.
Yeah, I'm
I
right there with
don't
you.
know with things that have happened with Irrational Games and that as of late. I just don't know how much of a possibility that it would be. But
Yeah. Okay.
I would love it. That's my number two pick.
Yeah, that's a great number two pick, I'd say. So my number two is at number two because of how popular it's becoming and how much traction it's gained recently. Not the movie itself, just the game, but the Fallout series. Talk about a metric fuck ton of possibility.
I kick myself for not thinking of this one.
It, I would love to see a Fallout movie. Now, I don't know if I would want to stick with the way they are told now, where you're a vault dweller that escapes from a vault, but it could honestly still work that way. We just have this person who is in this vault who escapes and has to discover this world that none of us know anything about. Quote unquote, none of us, because, we know the backstories and stuff like that,
Right.
assuming they stay true to the universe, but it's just like, that could make for a wonderful post apocalyptic movie.
You could
I say,
even
what?
cover. You go ahead and finish what you were going to say first, because
I
I
don't know,
was
just
going to
like
cut you off mid sentence.
Oh no, I just was kind of like laughing at how I said it. A wonderful post-apocalyptic movie.
That's amazing. You could even do something, there's all the suspicion behind the actual vaults themselves,
Yeah,
That would
exactly.
be a very
There's
interesting storyline to see and have partially told.
the more I learn about the Fallout universe, the more I'm just intrigued by everything in it and how much undiscovered stuff we have for future games or whatever they choose to do.
All right.
Uh, and I think a movie would be a great step into, covering some other remote area of the world of Fallout. Because we've only explored like a decent chunk of the United States. There's still a little bit left to go, but
Oh
we haven't
yeah.
explored anywhere else. I mean, it'd be a little odd if we did one in like South America. I feel like, but it could still be really good.
Right.
The whole world died, so I mean, it all depends on how everyone around it reacted, and that's what makes it so interesting.
Right. And that would be very cool to see that done. Like I
Yeah,
said, I kicked myself for not thinking of that when I was coming up with my list, but that'd be great. I would love to see a Fallout movie.
yeah, absolutely. So that's my number two. So, drum roll, please, Grunt. Your number one.
Uh,
There you go.
uh, Man, where do I begin with this one? There's so much they could do for the Far Cry series. Again, it's another Ubisoft game. I'm noticing a slight pattern here with some of these.
It's like they try to do good stories or something.
It's like they try to do good stories. Um, with the whole game plot line they've been doing, and some of them since I think Far Cry 3 is what it was, where you're like sent to some island or wherever, some place, some remote location, and it's basically like you're dropped into this crazy world, crazy reality, where it's like, man, if you really think about it, there are people that crazy out there in this world. But it'd be, I don't know what kind of movie it would be, but it would be great to see them do something along the lines of that, where it's covering something like insanity. Help me out here. I'm losing words.
You on a
Cult.
cruise. I was gonna say you're on a cruise ship and you crash wreck, and then crazy people pick you up and are
Right. Something
something like that.
it
But
would
yeah, crazy cult.
be amazing to do that. And Far Cry 5, the newest for that, looks like it's going to dive into really crazy storylines and that from over here in the US. So, there's
Yeah.
all kinds of stuff they could do. I would love to see them doing and sticking with the covering of the crazy people, basically, for lack of a better term.
They're really good storytelling mechanics.
But it'd be amazing to see them do that. And, same reason as the Division. There's all the stuff there. There's the backstory. Even a story loosely based off of the first game.
Yeah.
And I know there has been a Far Cry movie that's been based off of these games, but I do not speak of that movie.
No one does. We
No
just
one
don't
does.
talk about that.
No, because it was horrible. That's why I'd like to see a new one brought back up. And again, I think Ubisoft could do that with their storytelling details, and the same reason they put up the Assassin's Creed movie. And I'd like to see them do a Division. The stuff is there. It just needs to be done right.
I feel like all our movies we're mentioning deserve a big budget make to get it to work
Yes,
versus some like weird indie
right.
movie
That
or
would
whatever.
be
So right.
interesting. But yeah, Far Cry is my number one choice.
My number one, it kind of falls into the category we've already mentioned of
Never gonna guess this.
you're never gonna guess it even though it's already been mentioned. Anarchy in a world with so much backstory that we have so much to explore. I personally think the BioShock movies are my number one because I am so interested in that in a movie.
Right.
The moment I read through like the games I have on my shelf, I was like, oh, yeah, that needs to be a movie right now. And when you were talking about Infinite, I feel like that would be a great Netflix show because there's a lot they would have to cover, and they could just spread it out and do a lot more justice than an hour and a half to 2 hour movie. I think the first games would work much better in a 2.5 hour or a 2 hour movie like format. Because you could just, plunge. You don't have to cover too much of a backstory. Besides, maybe you're on a plane and you crash wreck there. That's all you need.
Right.
That could work super well. just to end up in Rapture. You could almost follow the first game's plot line, basically.
Right.
I think that would be great, and I think it could definitely be something that would happen. Now, I personally will be honest that this is on my list at number one because of how much I wanted to see it. As Grunt had mentioned, the practicality of it's kind of up in the air. Maybe they do it as a cash grab to try and get money, but I think it would be...
Either way, I would go see it, most likely still.
Absolutely. A lot of people would go see it, so...
Yeah. It would be amazing to see it.
Yeah, I agree. So that's my number one. I don't think I can add too much else to it than Grunt already had said. I think it would be great. So with that being said, do you guys agree with what we had picked? In order, do you think that these movies sound awesome? What are your picks? Are you upset with our picks? Like, you mad GTA 5 didn't show up? Let us know. The best way to do that is you can head over to Twitter. I'm at FranticJ3. He is at Onyx Spartan, ONYX Spartan, all one word. And we are at Frantic_Talks. That is the official account. Follow that account and you can get updates on when we go live with the podcast, when we post our podcast, post articles, post YouTube videos, all that fun stuff will be there. And also hit up at Freakshow187. He is our special podcast ghost. He will definitely give you some great puns, and also he's quick to reply if you need something to be a pun. Hopefully it's up to par, sometimes it's not. Can't knock him down too much.
Oh, man. Shots fired.
Shots fired. Coming for you, Freak Show. All right, you can get over to twitch.tv/Frantic Talks, all one word. That is where we go live every Saturday, usually at 3 p.m. Eastern, usually. Like I said, this is an archived cast, so we weren't live when we recorded this, but most likely we were beforehand. If you head over to YouTube, you can search Frantic Talks, hit that subscribe button. What you will get there is the perks of having the podcast before it comes into audio form. It's normally about an hour after we go live. You can also check out the Sunday show where I talk about music in depth, normally metal. Also, head over to facebook.com/Frantic Talks, all one word. That's where you can like us and get a more Facebook form of Twitter. And lastly, you can head over to FranticTalks.com, the mothership, where you can find all that information I just said in the footer, along with all our podcasts, all our articles, and other helpful links. If you click into a podcast, you get everything you need, including Stitcher, iTunes, YouTube, Twitch, the audio version, all of it's there. And magic.frantictalks.com is where you can find the Magic the Gathering side of Frantic Talks, where we have some really cool articles. It's also a link at the very top of the mothership, Frantic Talks. It's also there. So, if all else fails, if for some reason can't find us through all that information, it's okay. 100 times out of 10, Grunt, how can you find us?
Locate your favorite search engine and just type in Frantic Talks and hit enter. You will find us.
Absolutely. So, that being said, those were our top 5 games we want to see made into movies based on how much we wanted to see them and how practical it will be. Let us know your list. Let us know if you liked our list, disliked our list, and if you had anything to add, as in, we might have missed a crucial detail that could have made the movie even better, or potentially worse. Let us know pretty much through Twitter. That'll be the best way to do it, and we'd love to have a conversation about that on there. But otherwise, I think we will most likely see you guys next time. Anyways, I'm Frantic.
I'm Grunt.
And we will definitely see you guys next time.